What, you have a podcast?
Computer. Show the historical documents.
I can chew and walk gum at the same time.
They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators.
I don't know what I said.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters. So
I'm Ted Cruz and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
he's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured. I moved on her like a bitch. So we have the worst education almost in the large world, the world that people know about.
Don't experiment on damn Thanksgiving. Don't experiment on Thanksgiving. You experiment by your damn self.
Grab him by the pussy.
When the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
I don't understand it. I really don't, and I never will. But sometimes comedy is really the only way forward through tragedy. My heart is with everyone whose lives have been destroyed this week.
It looks like one-on-one, but Hilton is lurking in the area.
4th and goal. Smith, pump. He's dumped!
So that attack happened just before noon on Saturday. The attacker, according to police, was their landlord. Here he is on your screen, 71-year-old Joseph Zuba. He's charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, aggravated battery, and 2 counts of hate crime. Police say he brutally attacked 6-year-old Wadia Alfayumi. The child was stabbed 26 times. His mother was stabbed more than a dozen times. And
the most important thing is ending this brutality and to hold those who committed it accountable.
Absolutely not. The gentleman back there is a terrorist sympathizer that has no business in this building.
Right now, it looks like the party's newest nominee, Representative Jim Jordan, get this, does not have enough votes from his own GOP colleagues to win the speakership. We're going on 2+ weeks now.
Federal charge.
The Justice Department accuses him of conspiring to act as a foreign agent to Egypt. That's according to a superseding indictment filed in federal district court in New York. Menendez and his wife were charged last month for allegedly engaging in a bribery scheme.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Frame, and today is Monday, October 16th, 2023. Hello. Hope you enjoyed the new opening. I've been working a little bit on that and everything else. And of course, first off, I combed my hair like this the other day as a joke. I did go out in public. And then I went ahead and shared that on social media, and someone said, you should do that for the podcast. And I was like, okay. So, hi. Anyway. It's been pretty interesting the last week. We've seen a lot of things. First off, hardly anybody's talking about Ukraine anymore, which is horrible news. That is always the danger, is that we as Americans always fall into the pattern of going after the shiny new thing, and the war in Israel's new and it's shiny, and yeah, let's focus on that and completely forget the fact that Russia is still trying to take over a small third world nation. So we really need to get in there and not forget that. And of course, there's other news going on. You know, you got George Santos basically being indicted for every crime they have on the books practically. So basically, from what I understand, one of the worst crimes, I guess, is the fact that if you donated to his campaign, you know, you put in your credit card, you say, yeah, okay, sure, I want to donate $5 to the George Santos campaign, whatever, no judgment. But you go ahead and do that. Apparently, they kept your card on their account, and they double or triple billed you whenever they needed to. So they did not treat it as a one-time donation. They treated it as, you know, just kept going. So he's being charged for that kind of thing, which I'm just like, why is this guy still around? I don't understand why the Republican Party just doesn't dump him as soon as possible. You know, I don't know the rules of, you know, whether the New York governor has to immediately call a new election or whatever, but it's the House, for Pete's sake. And you already need, you know, does it really matter when you need 5 House members to maintain your majority versus 4? I don't think so. And besides, everyone agrees this guy would be better gone. This isn't the cult of personality like it is for Trump, right? Like, George Santos leads nothing. No one in the party likes him. No one wants him there. All he does is generate negative press for you. There is absolutely no reason to keep him around other than, well, we don't want to admit we did a wrong. which is stupid because any other member of the Democratic Party and they would be trying to chuck him, kind of. So we have Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, who everyone seems to want out of there because all he does is generate negative press. There's a Democratic governor there who would replace him with a Democrat, and yet he's still there, and everyone's asking for him to be gone, with the key exception of one person, Chuck Schumer. The Senate Majority Leader today has decided to finally take a stand on something and not punt to Joe Manchin, and he has decided, through his silence, through not saying anything, through not even trying to do anything, that Bob Menendez is totally okie dokie with him. So what we've learned is that if you're going to be in the Senate and you're going to be a Democrat and you're going to do a bad, apparently you need to be real good friends with Chuck Schumer. And this is extremely telling given that we've had Democratic senators have to resign because of controversy that turned out to be nothing before. And really what we should have done at that point, if you were Al Franken, is, man, if I could go back in time, apparently all I needed to do was become really good buds with Chuck Schumer, because then all is forgiven and everything goes away, right? So that one's really weird to me. That's an open and shut case. Yet Chuck Schumer, of course, is proving why Democrats are still absolute fucking garbage. Just total shitbags who don't deserve any power at all. I mean, unfortunately, they're the lesser of two evils, and one is really fucking evil. Like, the evil of the Democratic Party is, we just want to maintain the status quo, which is still pretty fucking evil, but it's an evil we all know, right? Like, we get it. And there is some comfort in knowing that particular devil. But when it comes to the Republicans, it's like, yeah, I don't know. You guys are like super evil, or at least you aspire to be more evil. And that's enough for me to say, well, okay, I guess I don't have a fucking choice in this matter. I guess I'm going to keep voting Democrat, because even though they're pieces of shit and their leadership is garbage and absolutely just trash human beings, I'm kind of stuck with them for the moment. But I guarantee you, the second I have a choice, I will be ousting those motherfuckers. And once again, I'll just go ahead and obligatory plug, pay attention to the primaries, people. Do not let these same people just walk in. Don't let Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, even AOC get into their seat because they ran unopposed in the Democratic Party. If you want to change the party, you must challenge the status quo. And in this case, that's the primaries. Look at the Republicans. Okay, they had Eric Cantor, Paul Ryan, those fuckwads. The Republican Party didn't like him. The Tea Party didn't like him. And what did they do? They ousted their ass the second they could. Now, is that worse for the country? In that case, yes, because the Tea Party was just filled with a bunch of racist asshats. Hopefully we can do better by replacing Democrats with somebody at least a little more socialist. At least a little more not so friendly with capitalism, I don't even mind if they're fully socialist. It doesn't bother me if you're pro-capitalist. I just need you to admit that capitalism needs some fucking rules, a little, at least some guardrails. Like, if you're willing to go there, I'm willing to vote your ass in. But the people that just come in and are like, no, the way everything's working is fine and it's all cool, and we definitely don't want a single payer option, Nancy. Anyway, you want them out, go to the primaries. Do not let these fuckwads continue, and definitely donate if you can. You don't need much. $5 here. Hopefully you don't run into a George Santos moment. And of course, we still do not have a Speaker of the House because the Republicans are trying to, light themselves on fire for all to see. There isn't a dumpster fire big enough or glorious enough to really encapsulate how fucked up the Republican Party is right now. You would think, hey, one of our allies just got terrorist attacked. Maybe we should get our shit together. Just didn't matter. And I would argue the reason is they are anti-Semitic to the core. Okay, everyone right now, especially on social media, there seems to be this eruption of what is anti-Semitism and what isn't. And most people, like myself, are sitting here going, for fuck's sake, I don't care what your religion is. I care about oppression. I am against hierarchies that oppress other people. And for fuck's sake, the Israeli government, the government, could be any government, is oppressive to Palestinians. I don't give a fuck what their religion is. I don't care what their race is, ethnicity is. It really doesn't fucking matter, okay? History has shown we don't even care in the long short of things. I mean, it really doesn't matter. At one point, the United States was racist against other white people because they were from outside. They were the other. It really just matters on who we define as the other. Race is just a convenient thing for white supremacists to grab onto, but try to remember, we really hated the Irish here in this country for a long time, okay? They were just a step above the slaves that we had at the time because they were offering cheap labor that was used as a political wedge against the slave holdings because it was like, no, you don't need slaves. See, look, there's cheap labor over here. And yeah, you have to pay them, but you could just pay them a penny and it's still better than slavery. Like, the justification was crazy. But the point was, there was an other, and it really doesn't matter. And so I don't give a fuck. Yes, I know there's a history of anti-Semitism all over the world. I am very aware of that. However, that is not a free pass to just shit on people whenever the hell you want. You don't get to do that. Oh, sorry. My great-grandfather was in the Holocaust, therefore I can be an asshole. No, that's not how that works. Ever. Ever. I'm sorry that happened, and I'm not being anti-Semitic, but if you're an asshole, I'm gonna call you an asshole. And your race, your religion, your ethnicity, whatever tagline you want to put on it, really doesn't matter, right? I'm for trans rights. If a trans person to me is an asshole, I'm going to call them an asshole. That doesn't, like, yes, I understand you are an oppressed individual. That doesn't give you the right to be a dickwad. Same thing with Palestinians right now, okay? It is not cool to support terrorism, period. I am very much against that. Terrorism to me is when you are going out of your way to kill civilians to terrorize, okay? This isn't a rebellion where it's like, we're going after the military. Like, seriously, if Hamas or any Palestinian group specifically target an Israeli military base or Israeli police station, it would be wrong because I do not condone violence and do not misconceive what I'm trying to say. It would be wrong, but it would be justifiable to some degree. You could say, hey, look, they are oppressed. They are going after the state. These people represent the state. Children and people going to concerts are not the state. Like, your problem is not there. And no, period. Okay? It drives me crazy. But that's the big news. You got the House can't unfuck itself right now. You had Steve Scalise, who once referred to himself as David Duke without the baggage, and it's like, oh, God, no, dude, that's not how that works. Thankfully, he has stepped down because he realized he's toxic as fuck, and the fact he got shot a few years ago really only goes so far. So, of course, they replaced him with a much more, intelligent, noble, honorable Republican. Fuck it. Jim Jordan, the guy who literally had 10-year-olds coming to him saying, yeah, the dude over here wants to play with my butt, and I don't think it's cool, and he just went, la, 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 I don't know what you're talking about. That guy who multiple people said, yes, he fucking knew, yes, he was in the room, no, he didn't do the, thing with our wiggly bits, but he knew about it, and he decided, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So, yeah, he's currently the front runner to be the House Speaker, which just shows you the level of depravity that is going on in the House. Some people would be like, oh, Kyle, why isn't somebody stepping up? Like, where is that honorable House Republican who's like, you know what? I didn't want to be the Speaker, but clearly, we can't have Jim Jordan. We can't have David Duke without the baggage. Kevin McCarthy was a weasel. We definitely don't want Matt Gaetz and the Destruction Caucus doing their thing. I will step up and lead my caucus. That person doesn't fucking exist. And I'm telling you why. There may be Republicans who are reasonable, sane. I don't agree with their policy views, but their policies are based in a principle, and they truly believe it. They are not fascists. They're not beholden to corporate interests. They really do believe in trickle-down or whatever the hell it is they believe. And God bless them, honestly, seriously, I do mean that. Like, I will take a congressperson I vehemently disagree with who stands on principle than one who decides, well, I'm getting paid over here by Microsoft, so I'm gonna, not vote to break up that monopoly. Like, that guy pisses me off. Okay, but if you had somebody who genuinely, truly believes it, and unfortunately the bar is so fucking low right now, and this is why there's a problem, is that the only way to tell a good Republican from a Republican who needs to no longer fucking be in government at all is whether or not they think January 6th was a fucking crime. Okay? That's really all it is. Jim Jordan did. He voted to overturn the election. Steve Scalise has said it, and it really doesn't matter about the votes. Most of them obviously did, but a lot of them, stayed silent on that day, and that also bothers me. If you came out and publicly said this is bullshit, your name is Adam Kinzinger or Liz Cheney, neither of which are in the House right now because of that. So we have a distinct problem. And the main problem is you can't have a Republican step forward and be the honorable man or woman, not because the House doesn't have them. There are so many that there's hundreds of House members, right? There have to be a few that are decent human beings. Just by the law of statistics, there has to be a few. They are in the minority. But you would think, why don't one or two of them step up? Because the rest of the caucus won't have them. The voters won't have them. One of the key tenets of being a Republican of good standing within the party these days is that January 6th was just some tourists who just got a little ahead of themselves and that Donald Trump really won 2020. And if you believe those things, you will go very far in today's Republican Party. But if you do not believe in those things, you're worth jack or shit to the party. You will not get anywhere. This is the main problem. Like, go look at Britain, and you're always wondering, like, why can't Britain unfuck its economic situation right now, right? They did Brexit, but how come the Labour Party over there can't fix its problem? And it's really very simple. Because in order to be a member of good standing in the Labour Party, you cannot admit that Brexit was a mistake. You can't go back on it and say, hey guys, this just isn't working. You have to, the core belief of that party right now is Brexit was great and we're a better nation for it. And if you don't believe that, the party has nothing to do with you, which is why they can't move forward, because the only way to solve their problem is to un-Brexit themselves. Just get out of it. Just come back to the EU. At least stop being so anti-EU all the damn time. But they can't get past it because that's step one entry into the party is you have to believe a lie. You have to project the lie. You have to repeat the lie constantly. So because of that, even if there is an honorable one or two Republicans in the House who could lead the party and genuinely be good for the United States of America, they can't even step forward. They won't get any votes because they do not believe the main tenet of being a Republican, that January 6th was a crime. Crimes were committed. It was an organized effort to overturn a fucking election. Coup, treason, sedition, whatever your keyword is there, that has to be part of your mantra, otherwise you can't run. So until then, we're going to get a lot of false starts here. We're going to have somebody come out and they're going to be like, I'm going to lead like Steve Scalise. And then it's like, no, not really. You've got baggage. And of course he does, because in order to believe those things, you had to sell yourself down the river a long time ago. Either you, A, really do believe that shit, which means you're a fucking idiot. And yeah, the Republicans who know that you believe it, they're not going to vote for you. Or you're lying about it and everybody knows it, in which case, yeah, nobody wants you. So, sorry, I have cats now and they're making noises. They're attacking a plastic bag. Okay, that's fine. They can do that. They like to. I am now discombobulated. Okay, so you got Jim Jordan. He's not going to be able to do it because everybody thinks he's a piece of crap. He obviously believes January 6th was just a hunky-dory okay day, which means he's a non-starter. He's not going anywhere. And, next person up, who we got? Nancy Mace. I mean, if you've paid attention to her career at all, you know that every Sunday she loves to go to those talk shows, but the problem is every time she goes on them, she says something different. Right? She tries to project herself as, I'm the moderate, normal Republican. And she says that into a microphone where she can be recorded saying that. And then later, she goes to a rally and she, again, on camera, into a microphone, says the exact opposite. And so everyone knows she's full of shit, that she's not really a moderate at all, that she's crazy. It's like Tim Scott came out, and he's supposed to be the Republican with a conscience who's a normal guy. He's a good dude, and he's normal, and he's safe, and he's a moderate Republican. Well, he's out there right now saying that Hamas attacked Israel because of Biden. And it's like, no, that's stupid. That really is. Hamas doesn't give a fuck who the president is. In fact, I would argue that Hamas would prefer Trump would be president right now. Because he's such an unpredictable fuckwad. They might actually be able to work with him. They might look at him and be like, hey, he was willing to deal with the Taliban. Maybe we can deal with him, right? Because we know Biden's not, because he represents the status quo, right? He's a typical Democrat. He wants to maintain things. Anyway, one of the reasons I wanted to get on today, though, is that we've got this, social media thing. And first off, I want to point out that everyone on social media needs to calm the fuck down. And this is from left and right. And I'll be very clear here. There are a lot of articles. Washington Post, New York Times, the Atlantic, The Nation even. Everyone's writing these articles. Different takes, of course, that they're all over the place. But they're writing these articles about the horrible Harvard students. And, oh my God, can you believe the New York DSA did this? And this group over here did that. And, oh shit, they're supporting Hamas. We are focusing on a very, very tiny minority of Americans who think that terrorism is ever good and or justified. This is a very small piece of the pie. There are hundreds of millions of us. Again, by laws of statistics, it was impossible that not a few of us would have seen what happened on the 7th as a positive, right? That's just... When you got 100 million people, a few of them are going to be batshit and think crazy things. So it's inevitable that there is a portion of the electorate that is like, fuck yeah, go Hamas, kill them. And that is wrong. And fuck no, do not ever support terrorism. And that's just wrong. Okay. But my complaint is that the media is giving them way too much oxygen. It's bad enough that because of social media and the internet, a tiny group, because they are extremely vocal and loud, get projected across the zeitgeist. And all of a sudden, you have centrists who are maybe never Trumpers and are looking at the Democratic Party like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Oh my God, I can't ever, align myself with the Democrats because holy shit. And it's like, you people, first off, it was a really bad look on the 8th of October if you were out waving the Palestinian flag around. It's not bad to support the Palestinian people. It is good to wave that flag in general. The day after a terrorist attack committed by Palestinians against anybody really, but against Israel is bad. Like, read the fucking room. Like, if it was 9/12 and somebody was out there waving a flag from the Middle East, read the room, man. It's just not the time. It's good that you have pride in your heritage, where you came from, where you are from originally. It is not okay to be doing that the day after. Or at least, if it's not okay, you have to expect pushback. Right? Like, I wish I was in the room with the New York DSA when they decided, we're going to hold a march tomorrow in support of Palestinians, just so I could say, hey, I get what you're going for. Like, because I don't have a skin in the game. I am not Israeli, Palestinian, Muslim, or Jewish. I have no family at all from that region of the world. I am a dispassionate observer. So because of that, I can say, hey, I know what you're going for. I am not inflamed or enraged because my people were attacked. But at the same time, I do think that everyone is going to misinterpret this. This is going to be misinterpreted. Okay? It's very easy to see if you're out there the day after a terrorist attack waving a Palestinian flag. There are people like me who are going to see it and be like, I know what you're going for. I know what you're trying to say. But there are other people too close to the situation who are going to see that as an attack against them. as you supporting a terrorist group. That's the perception. And it doesn't matter how loud you are in proclaiming, no, really, we're just here to support the Palestinian civilians. It had nothing to do with this. It doesn't matter how loud you are. The perception is going to be out there. This is all about optics, unfortunately. And a lot of people don't see that, right? They just don't get it. That's fine. You can be one of those people. But when you have an organization like the New York DSA, someone in the room should have been like, guys, I am sympathetic to what you are trying to say. This is not how to do it. We need to wait a day. Okay? I know waiting sounds like suck, but this is not the time. Okay? It is just as bad, and we need to call it out, right? Because we've seen this before on the right. The NRA does this shit. Every time there's a mass shooting, it feels like within 7 days of a mass shooting happening in Uvalde, Texas, all of a sudden there's a gun show and a huge NRA rally in Uvalde, Texas within 7 days. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And yes, I get it. I get it. You, right or wrong, are out there trying to promote your amendment that you really love from the sacred texts. I get it. But now's not the time. Okay? Now's not the time. And you hear it, they try to reverse it on us too, because as soon as a tragedy happens, the left kind of starts to mobilize and say, hey, we need to ban these guns. Maybe that would stop some of this shit. And statistically, that's very true, but, fuck statistics. It's all about feels and our sacred texts. And instead, what they'll say is, oh, you guys are politicizing a tragedy. You should not be going after gun rights. The problem is that there's a shooting every fucking day, and there's no good time to do it, and we can move on from that. But it does get flipped back on us, right? Because we would call out the NRA, rightly, I believe, for holding a rally in the same town there was just a mass shooting at a school, right? But they do that all the time. They do that. So we call them out, and we would be right in doing so. So you have to understand, it's like, even if your cause is just, you have to read the fucking room, because now you've got celebrities like Sarah Silverman like, fuck the DSA, I'm never going back, which is her right, but also you gotta consider her point of view. This is all completely fucked up. Her people were attacked, and we're out waving the flag of not the terrorist organization, but terrorist adjacent, unfortunately. So yeah, you gotta worry about that. Hello. Yes, this is Indy. He's getting caught in cables. Stop that. Anyway. But right now I'd like to play for you something, because a lot of people don't seem to get it. I don't know if they're asking the question because they think all the rest of us are stupid and haven't thought about it, or if they're asking it because they genuinely don't know. But what I'm seeing on the internet, on social media, is a lot of people I don't get it. Hamas isn't saving anyone. The Palestinians are the ones who are going to suffer. Why would they do this? And that there is a lot, you think about it, and if you don't know any better, you would think, okay, let's see, there's a couple hundred of us versus a government and a military. And we want freedom for our people, who are about 2.2 million people living in Gaza. What's the best way to go about freeing our people? Well, there's only a couple hundred of us, and we're kind of limited in what we do. We don't have tanks, for example. We don't have fighter jets. We do not have the ability to bomb from that far away. We don't have precision, right? We just kind of lob shit. We have a few guns, but not many. So what do? You would not think, I know, let's break into their country, do a full-on terrorism, and that'll help liberate our people by getting people to join our cause. That's not first off, if that is their thinking, oh my god, are they stupid? Because of course not, right? That's just not the problem with terrorism. The reason it doesn't work is because the only response to it that makes sense is overwhelming force, right? You have to do that, because let's be honest, if a terrorist group, which is already by its very definition extremely fanatical, you give them an inch, they're going to go a mile, right? You have to understand, Israel to some degree didn't have a choice in the matter. They had to respond with overwhelming force. And yes, that meant civilians were going to die, but what's the alternative? They can't let it go. They can't forgive it. I mean, even though their religion says to, and so does every other religion, by the way, say to love thy neighbor and forgive all of the sins against you, that's not going to happen. Governments don't have that prerogative, okay? If people of your government are attacked, you as government, it's one of your jobs to retaliate, unfortunately. Now, there is a proportional response. There are rules we can go into later. But for right now, you have to understand the only answer to a terrorist attack is overwhelming force response to discourage it in the future. You can't negotiate with them. You can't forgive them. You can't kind of go after them, because then you're just encouraging them more. Remember, these are not normal human beings in a tough spot. If you've decided terrorism is the way to go, you are lost to humanity, okay? You have decided to kill innocent people who have nothing the fuck to do with you, right? I'm a socialist, pretty much, okay? If I wanted capitalism dead, the answer would not be, I'm gonna go kill a bunch of workers. No, that would not work. Anywhere ever. But that's what they're doing, right? They're going to do that. And a lot of people are, they're having trouble wrapping their heads around why would they do this then? If, all they're doing is hurting themselves. It makes no sense. They're shooting themselves in the foot. And it boggles my mind, because it means to me that you really don't, this is the point of art. This is the point of creating things, because there are a lot of books, plays, musicals, music songs about these things that if you don't embrace art and really pay attention to it, you don't get these ideas or anything put out there. So I've put together a little thing, and Disney hates me, so I'm sorry for the edited cut that I'm about to put here. But this is a scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. A lot of people post from the show Andor, and what they really love is this character played by Stellan Skarsgård named Luthen, where he's justifying his actions as a rebel against the state to one of his moles, because the mole wants out and he's pleading with him, just let me go, let me quit. And he's like, no, I can't. And if you've been around on the internet and social media, you've seen it, because it's a great monologue. It's one of the best monologues in TV history already, for a reason. Stellan Skarsgård totally fucking nails it. He's just total boss in it. And everything he says makes sense for him, for the character, for the writing. The show's genius. But I think a better scene is not a monologue. It's a scene between two of the main protagonists, in this case, still his character, Luthen, who basically, if you've watched Game of Thrones, he's like the little finger of the rebel cause, right? He's got his pie and everything. He's not trying to climb the ladder, though, so much as manipulate it. And you have his key financial backer and also inside Politico, Senator Mon Mothma. And here is their scene, heavily edited because, again, and I'm sorry for that, from episode 7 of Andor.
I worried you might do something like this.
How I wish I had.
I don't believe you.
Well, you'll have to try harder.
Don't you dare talk to me like that.
Revolutions are expensive.
It was you, wasn't it?
I explained to you the risk of new faces, but you seem to know better.
You realize what you've done?
I thought you were here to tell me about the meeting.
It's tonight.
I warned you when we started.
You told me we were building a network.
What were my words?
This is something else entirely.
Turning back will be impossible. You knew where this was going. You've always known. Has anyone ever made a weapon that wasn't used? The network's been built. It's up. It grows or it dies. We've waited long enough.
You realize what you set in motion?
It was time for that as well.
Palpatine won't hesitate now.
Exactly. We need it. We need the fear. We need them to overreact.
You can't be serious.
The Empire has been choking us so slowly we're starting not to notice. The time has come to force their hand.
People will suffer.
That's the plan. You're not angry at me. I'm just saying out loud what you already know. There will be no rules going forward. If you're not willing to risk your conscience, then surrender and be done with it.
So right there in that scene, you basically have, what I think is very possible to have been a conversation between like what we currently think of as the Iranian backers of Hamas, right? The Iranian backer in this case being the senator and Hamas being Luthan. Basically, they're like, holy fuck, what did you do? You do realize you're going to hurt your cause here, right? Muslims will be hurt by this. And they're like, good, that's the point. And that is the point of this, right? When you ask yourself, why is Hamas doing this or anything? This isn't, what's their strategy? Their strategy is very clear to me. Their strategy is they're trying to bait the Israeli government. Right now, the Israeli government is filled with a lot of right-wing fuckwads, very fascist assholes, Netanyahu in particular. He is an asshole. And all of them in power have previously stated, or through their actions shown, that they don't give a fuck about the Palestinian people. And they would love nothing more than for all of them to just dis the fuck up here. So that they can take that land and do with it what they will. Gaza is some very nice real estate, and they are really pissed off that those assholes have it. So they're just itching for a reason. And basically what we had here is Hamas gave them a reason. Okay, Hamas saw an opening. Hamas decided, hey, the government's filled with a bunch of right-wing wackadoodles. Now's the best time to attack because we are going to get the best response. You couldn't do this with a worldly, intelligent, non-emotional leader of a sane political party. Okay, it wouldn't be the right action. They would look at it. They would still offer, overwhelming force, but they would also treat it like it should be a police action. Get in there with your intelligence community. You're supposed to have one of the best. Root out these leaders, shut them down financially, isolate them, take them out, either through the judicial system if you can catch them alive, or, kill them in their beds. That's kind of what happens. When you volunteer to be a terrorist, you kind of give up the right to surrender peacefully sometimes. Yeah, that's the trade-off. So this was a perfect storm for them. They decided now was the perfect time to do this because this is the trap. And so far, as far as I can tell, Israel and Netanyahu are falling right into the trap. The trap was laid very carefully. Right or wrong, Hamas did this on purpose. They want their own people, the Palestinian people, to be killed by the Israeli state. Intentionally. So that foreign support, the United States, other Muslim nations, some members of the European Union, okay? There is a fascist rise in Europe going on right now. Some of them have specifically called out that, Jews are the enemy bullshit. They believe that. There's an element here in the United States that believes that as well. Enough that it could change certain elections, and when an election is in danger, politicians will adjust accordingly, right? If Israel goes overboard, and all of a sudden this turns away from your overwhelming terrorist attack response, and it turns into full-blown genocide, the rest of the world will respond. Now, I'm not saying that the United States would actively go into Gaza and put a stop to it, even though that should happen, I think. I think if the United States is going to be involved, in for a penny, in for a pound, get your ass in there. You do it. I think we should. Force a two-state solution. Just be like, yep, nope, you lost it. You lost Gaza. You don't get it anymore. Gaza is now an independent nation by the Palestinians, and the only deal is don't fuck with people. Okay? You got what you wanted. This is what we're giving you. You be happy with it because you achieved it through terroristic means, so you don't get to, claim other land. You don't get to do anything, and make it very clear, you fuck with them, we will blow the fuck out of you. And what I would do in that situation, again, if I had magic wand and could, I would make sure there's a base nearby, a military base of the United States, Americans, armed by, run by Americans, filled with Americans, everything, honestly, we'll call it a peacekeeping measure, but in reality, it's the hammer that is going to fuck you up if you do anything. Okay? And there is precedent for this. Go look at World War II. We have bases in Germany, we have bases in Japan, we have bases all over Europe, basically there to make sure y'all ain't gonna fuck around anymore, because we're right here. Okay? I think that's the only solution to this. Do I like it? Not really, because I don't trust the United States to act accordingly, and obviously having a military presence on your doorstep is something no other sovereign nation wants. But kind of like how I feel about capitalism, it doesn't work without regulation, is kind of how I feel about religious territories. They don't work without regulation. But if you were asking before, why is Hamas doing this? They're not going to win. You're right. In a straight-up battle, they're not going to win. They are not trying to win. They are trying to get Israel to go too far so that the rest of the world has to condemn Israel. So the United States suddenly has to say, yeah, no, we want nothing to do with this shit. They want Israel to all of a sudden look around and realize they don't have any allies. Now, Hamas's main goal is not independence for Palestine. They could give a fuck. Hamas's goal is to destroy Israel. We should acknowledge that. Like, that's their goal. Hence why I say the two-state solution. Because we obviously can't give them what they want. Also, that would not be right either. There are plenty of Israeli citizens who have nothing to do with any of this. They're just trying to fucking live, man. Right? It's fucked up. So you don't punish them. The only thing you can do, as far as I'm concerned, two-state solution, heavily enforce the border, we as a third party, or get the UN involved. That's what they're for. A UN peacekeeping force to basically say, hey, ceasefire until y'all are sane. Okay? And if that means that Israel hates us and so does the Muslim community, yeah, guess what? That's not very far off. Let's be honest. The way that Israel's going right now with their politics, with Benjamin Netanyahu in charge and his political power that he has and what he's trying to do over there, the United States is not going to be a fan of his for much longer. Okay, he is burning that bridge very clearly. Because you can't ally with another country when only one political party likes you, right? That's just how it is. That's kind of the problem we're having right now with Ukraine. Zelensky visited the United States, requested to speak in front of Congress, but since it was a Republican in charge, Kevin McCarthy said no. Whereas a year and a half ago, when it was Democrats, they said, yeah, sure, come on in. We don't care. You can't be an ally of a country when only one political party is in favor of you. That's just not how it works. And the way that Israel has been acting for a long time, and yeah, there's going to be some sympathy votes going forward. The Democratic Party is not going to abandon Israel anytime soon. They have members in their caucus who are Jewish and very powerful. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, very, very strong people. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't think Pelosi's Jewish. But she definitely is very heavily in support of Israel, if nothing else. Those people aren't going anywhere. Their influence is not going anywhere. So the Democratic Party is going to give a very long leash to Israel right now because of the attacks, because of their history with it. But, I mean, as far as I can tell, I don't think this is sustainable. The longer that Netanyahu and his party go the route they're going, it's just going to create a natural divergence from the United States path, the same way as, like, you look at Saudi Arabia. We kind of have a love-hate relationship with them right now, where they very clearly want a Republican president, especially Trump. And they're currently raising gas prices to ensure that that will happen. So it's not going to be long before maybe one day the Democrats get strong enough and Saudi Arabia crosses a line and the United States just says, yeah, no, we're going to cut the umbilical cord. You're done. I see that happening very clearly with Israel, and this attack probably stalled that a little bit, but it's not sustainable. Okay, if you're a country that is turning away from democracy towards fascism, can the United States really stick with you in the long run? I mean, the only alternative would be that the United States also is okay with fascism, and then great, you get to be two fascist states together. That's wonderful. So I just want to close by saying, in no way am I justifying or trying to argue a justification for terror at all. That scene and everything in it is just to help you understand how and why the tactics that they use are. Now, in the TV show, we're okay with these tactics because the Empire is very clearly portrayed as a bad and the rebels are very clearly portrayed as a good in general. So it's okay, when they do it. But these very same tactics are employed even by people we don't like and don't agree with. And they also do it poorly. If it matters, the rebels in that case were not attacking civilians. They did attack a military institution. So, okay, that would fall under my rules of, I'm not in favor of violence, but at least you're attacking the state, so that's one thing. The state that is oppressing you, not civilians who are just trying to go about their lives. We're all human beings trying to, survive on this spinning rock in the middle of the galaxy. And we have very little control in our day-to-day lives. This is unfortunately the world we live in. I have no control over who's going to be the next president of the United States, but the next president of the United States has a significant amount of control over me. That sucks. Violence is not the answer. I do not condone violence at all. I do believe, humanity. I believe in understanding humanity. That's my whole point. I'm trying to better understand what drives people to this, what makes them think this is the good alternative. And we need to know this. We can't put our heads in the sand and be like, oh, well, we can't study the enemy or we might fall under their spell. No, it's not that. That's how old Christians used to view witchcraft, oh, we can't get to know these people. We might fall under their spell. That's bullshit. You have to understand them so you know how to combat it in the future, and not even militarily, just, hearts and minds. How do you make sure that your citizenry doesn't suddenly become rebellious or terroristic? Right now, we're living in a society where, because the right wing says a lot of inflammatory things, at any moment, some idiot with a gun could go into a place where they feel oppressed, they perceive oppression, and they could unleash it on everyone. It's stochastic terrorism. There's no actual head. This is traditional terrorism where, Hamas does have a leadership, and they did plan this, and this is organized with hundreds of individuals. We are currently in the middle of stochastic terrorism, also not the way to go. But it's important to understand how individuals, even the sick ones, get to the point they are, so that hopefully we can see the signs, try to pull them back if they're a friend or family, or even a neighbor or a coworker. We can recognize certain things and make sure it never gets to that point. We have to understand it. And also, we have to understand why people would be willing to do this, right? Hamas didn't just happen in a vacuum, all right? Palestinians didn't endorse this terrorist attack. At some point, someone decided and was able to convince other people that this was the correct course of action, that they could not achieve their goals through peaceful means. Maybe their goals are violent means as they are. Like, again, Hamas's mission statement is the destruction of the Israeli state, which, no, that's no. Okay. If your goal was, I just don't want to be fucking oppressed, I can work with that. I can't work with, I want to destroy an entire people. That, fuck off. You need to go away. But it's important to know how people feel when they get there. How do we stop this? And putting our heads in the sand and just pointing and saying, this is why I hate saying, oh, it's evil. Okay, chill. Evil implies that it's impossible to understand it. It's impossible to, think about it, to critique it, all that stuff. I disagree with that kind of stuff. Evil implies only certain people can do it. I don't believe that. I think any of us, as human beings, all of us, have the capability, under the right conditions, given the correct set of circumstances, to do the same thing that Hamas just did. We just were born in the correct zip code. We were born in the right place, the right time, to not have that fate. But what is the what did Palestinians do to deserve this? A lot of them just had the misfortune of being born there, right? That's it. If you were born in Palestine today, this is your world. You're not allowed to leave. That's pretty fucked up. right? I mean, at the end of the day, their main crime, the first stone that decided every other string, every other decision in their life started from, you were born in Palestine. And that sucks. That's not the way the world should work. It is the way it is. That's why I do this podcast. That's why I go to meetings. I pay dues. Is in my own small way, I have to do something because doing nothing simply isn't a choice for me. It would be very easy to do, but there would always be that small piece of me fighting in the back of my head saying, Kyle, you really should. This is fucking wrong. Anyway, that's our show today. Stay safe. Get vaccinated if you can. I know it's not open to everybody. Get that thing on your back checked out. It's always good. Be slow to judge here when you go on social media and you see things. And keep in mind, someone who says something inflammatory today, and I may even get in trouble for the things I've said today, we're all learning. We're all moving along. I don't have all the answers. These are just what I think would work. I obviously do not have a magic wand that could fix everything the way that I see fit. So just, be slow. Somebody who says something stupid today, that's what it is. It's something stupid. We all say stupid things, especially right now when they're all emotional and everything's kind of close to home and there's so much violence and horribleness in the world. We're all going to step on our feet. We're all going to say something the wrong way. Social media also really doesn't help, right? You have a teeny tiny window to try to get your very complex thought across. And yeah, sometimes that doesn't work. So good luck with that. Of course, the safe move is not to do anything at all, but I don't like being safe. And if you don't say anything, I don't think you can learn anything. So, once again, thank you very much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Hi. Thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to reach out, I'm on all the social media sites. You can find me pretty easily, usually some version of Recovery From Politics or my name, Kyle Frame. With the exception of Twitter, I've stopped using it. I still leave my stuff up there just for historical, record, but I will not be posting on that site anymore due to its a little too chummy with Nazis, and I don't like them. But if you do want to reach out, I have an email, recoveryfrompolitics@gmail.com and all that good stuff. I'd just like you to consider, I don't have a Patreon. This is not monetized in any way. I do not have a staff. There's no writers. This is all just me using mostly free software to put together the best you can. So it doesn't look great. I have no formal training in any of this. So, go easy on me in the comments, unless you really think I screwed up, in which case, by all means, let me have it. But of course, like, subscribe, share, if you really do like it and you really do want to see more of it and you really think other people should see it too. Otherwise, it doesn't bother me at all. Yeah. So, have a great day. Thank you for listening and stay safe.